Pure and utter domination today from Martin Truex Jr. I think that's going to be the name of the game going into this stream right now. By the way, thank you guys all for joining in. Be sure to click the like button. We are going to go through the finishing order of this race, what happened in this race, and the playoff grid in a moment. We will have the finishing order up top, but definitely be sure to click that like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's jump into this right now. The 2023 Cran 301 was 301 laps with 9 leaders, 13 lead changes, and 8 cautions. It went for 3 hours, 8 minutes, and 7 seconds on the day. I'm going to lead you off with this one right now. I thought it was a mid-race. I know a lot of people are more positive about it. I personally gave it a 4 out of 10. Fun finish, I guess. Spiced it up a little bit, but I think it's more a package thing than the track, because the track has put on good races the last couple of years. But this one definitely, I don't think, was as as enticing as those ones. But looking at the finishing order of this race, again, we gotta be sure that you appreciate Martin Truex Jr. for just how good he was today. And let's go through and see where these guys all finished up. MTJ won the race. Joey Logano second. Kyle Larson third. Kevin Harvick fourth. Fifth, Brad Keselowski sixth. Tyler Reddick seventh. Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace eighth. Then 9th, Austin Dillon holds on, and Chase Briscoe with a pretty good run finishes up in the 10th position. Also, I'm going to do something we did in the Xfinity post-race today. We're going to pin some of your comments up there, so it'll just be every little bit. But first one from Ricardo, just gave MTJ the lobster. By the way, thank you for everybody who's jumping in right now on this Monday afternoon. Be sure to like the stream as we keep going with the finishing order here. Eric Jones with 11th. 12th, Chase Elliott. He was nowhere to be found almost all day. Recovers to a 12th place finish, though probably not going to help out much when it comes to the playoffs. Then you got Michael McDowell, 13th, after getting some stage points. Good run for him today. Did what he needed to do. Alex Bowman, 14th, after spinning. Probably the best I've ever seen Bowman do at New Hampshire, which is saying something for where he finished. Then you got Chris Buescher, 15th. 16th, Daniel Suarez, after trying and failing at a strategy to stay up front, hoping that the caution would fly the right way. Still comes home with a respectable finish. Not good enough, as we'll talk about in a moment, to stay in the playoffs, but still good enough to stay in that cut line. Remember, there are, I believe, 6 races remaining until we get to the playoffs. And Justin Haley in 17th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 18th, AJ Allmendinger 19th, 20th is Harrison Burton, 21st is then Todd Gilliland, Ryan Blaney 22nd, Chastain, 23rd. 24th, William Byron, Cindric 25th, Ty Dillon in the 26th spot, and after hitting the wall very, very late in that last run, Ty Gibbs comes home 27th, last car on the lead lap. Let's see what else we got in here. Pin this message here from Jeff. He was right. Joey was so close today. We'll read those super chats after we get done with the finishing order as well. But then a lap down, Ryan Preece 28th, 29th, Christopher Bell, Ryan Newman. I don't know if you knew Ryan Newman was in this race. He was. Finished 2 laps down in the 15 and 30th. 31st was BJ McLeod, 6 laps down. Then Noah Gragson, after a late issue, finishes out of the race, 32nd on the day. Corey LaJoie salvaged something today after his early problems. 125 laps down in the 33rd position. 34th, and the rest of these guys out of the race. 34th was Eric Almirola. Cole Custer in the 51, 35th out of the race. And Kyle Busch records a last place finish on the day. Looking at these super chats really quick. One from Hunter for 2 says New Hampshire equals Toyota's playground. That 19 was bad fast. I would agree with that. Nick, thank you for the 2. Does Darian get the weekend sweep bonus? He does. Darian picked everything right other than SRX, but we don't count SRX with that. Napa Racing Fan 927, thank you for the 5. If Pocono rains out next Sunday, bet on Monday Martin to complete the home track sweep, all on Monday in 2023. Dover, New Hampshire, Pocono next. As I saw, at least from some of the advanced forecasts, Pocono is a 50-50 shot at thunderstorms, though a lot can change. But I don't want to bank too much on it yet, just having that right away, or out there for you. I guess Danny's on TV. Nice. Awesome stuff. I have the broadcast off, just the points paused on it right now. And then Fred Dog 81, thank you for the 5. The guy who lied to the 10 that the wheel was tight needs to be fired. Probably cost Almirola a good shot at the playoffs. Maybe more for SHR long term. Well, yeah, that was rough. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. But really quick, before we get into the points of the race, I am going to put up the post-race results up top there, as well as our schedule for the week, NWP, on my channel in 2 days. And just letting you know now as well, we do have a video that will probably come out tonight on some SVG stuff. But let's look at the playoff standings as we're going right now. We got 11 winners so far. They're all locked in. Well, I guess not completely locked in. We could have 6 winners in 6 weeks, but for the good conversation, let's just say that that they are locked in. By the way, click that like button. But looking at the points on it right now, Kevin Harvick is 12th plus 137. Then Brad Keselowski 13th plus 108. Chris Buescher 14th plus 97. To put this in perspective for you guys, of like how many points they would need to fall for this to for them to fall out. Kevin Harvick would have to lose 23 points a race on the cut line. Brad Keselowski would have to lose 18, and Chris Buescher would have to lose 17 per race on the cut line to fall out. So I think they're pretty good to go. The tight gap here, and this is from 15th to 18th, is where it gets really tight. Bubba Wallace, 15th, plus 2. That 8th place run really coming in handy for him when it comes to staying in the playoffs as we are right now. Let's see. Then Michael McDowell, plus 1, 16th, still in the fight. 34 car came home 13th, but got some stage points as well, which is better than a lot of the guys in the cut line can say. Being 1 point over Daniel Suarez in 17th. Then 18th, AJ Allmendinger, minus 20, still staying in it. Got those road courses, even if he doesn't win. As long as there's not 2 new winners, I think Allmendinger still could point his way in with how much better Call League has been running lately. So good stuff there. And then Ty Gibbs, minus 41 in 19th. And Alex Bowman, while coming home 14th, salvaging what seemed to be a crash, honestly. 20th in points, minus 42. That's going to be rough. He's going to have to make up 7 points a race. Not impossible, but seeing how that team has been pretty mediocre, honestly, I would not I would not bet on that, to say the least. Looking like USA is off right now. So let's get into the play-by-play of what happened in this race. Christopher Bell wins the pole, but he isn't able to start the race until today because we have a damn monsoon hitting the track because NASCAR's in town. Because that always happens when NASCAR's in town. So we start the race on Monday. Started out pretty orderly. Martin Truex Jr. gets out ahead of Christopher Bell to start with. Bell, I think, kind of raced him a little bit, but it was pretty clear the 19 from the early get-go was the dominant guy to beat. But then lap 29, AJ Allmendinger would spin from 11th, bringing out the first caution of the day. 5 laps later, they restart with William Byron getting the lead. There's some close calls, tight racing in the pack, but only, 10 laps later, Truex gets past the 24. His car was faster, had the tires. Byron didn't have the tires. He had used a little strategy to get up there. And in doing so, the 19, again, proving he's the man to beat, flies out ahead, wins stage 1, getting 10 points. He maxed out on playoff points for the day. And looking at it right now, playoff points-wise, I'll read off where these guys are after I read the stage. But Byron gets second in the stage. Third is Reddick. Fourth is Almirola. Fifth, Blaney. Then Bell 6th. Hamlin 7th. 8th is Suarez. 9th is Logano. And Michael McDowell comes home 10th in stage 1, getting an extra stage point. Looking at the stage points and playoff points in total, actually, going in with the leaders, the winners, William Byron leads with 22 playoff points, not including, if I'm not mistaken, this does not include where they will finish in the regular season. Remember, regular season champ gets 15. I think it's like 15, 10, and then 8 all the way down to 1 for the top 10 in points. But Martin Truex Jr. gets 18 so far playoff points. Kyle Busch with 17. Larson with 12, then Chastain 10, 9 to Hamlin, 8 to Blaney and Reddick, 7 to Bell and Logano, and 5 to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. But as we're looking right now, Byron, Truex, and Kyle Busch look to be the most set when it comes to it, especially if they can rank high in the points going in as well. Let's see. I'm going to pop up here the FBI. How about that? The FBI will have our pin message next. And let's get into stage 2. How about that? I think stage 2 was probably the dullest on the day. It started out, well, honestly, stage 1 into 2 started out with Kyle Busch junking his car, getting into the wall. Just a very bad, no good weekend for Kyle Busch. Ends about as fittingly as it probably should. He finishes last on the day. But with the restart in stage 2, Martin Truex Jr. runs out. Every restart of this race, I'll say this, had a lot of side-by-side competitive tight racing. There was, in all honesty, there was, how do I say it? There was a scrum, like for 10 laps, 3, 4, 5 wide racing back there. What nuts. But those leaders always got away at different points. And that really just set the tone for the race overall. Now, I want to, because of this and because we saw this, I do want to give an attaboy to NBC. They showed battles throughout the pack all day long. They had battles for 25th on the screen. Some of them were like between just some of the, Preece or Briscoe or whoever was running back there. People who usually run back there. They ended up they ended up showing a lot of good battles through the race, giving a wider scope of what the race was looking like. I give them credit there. On the restarts, they started showing 5, 6 different camera angles on top of the big screen. Maybe not all the way perfectly executed, but I want to give them credit for trying new things again, because even if it's not good, at least they're trying stuff and putting a ton of effort into it, and I think they deserve to be praised for that, because we've been asking Fox to do that for how long and they don't do it. People at Fox, if you're watching this race today, that's what you should be doing, trying new things every week. Marky Mark, thank you for the 2. Listen to some on PRN. Hope I didn't miss much. Personally, I don't think so. A lot of people did have fun with it. But I'd say that PRN is pretty darn good, to say the least. PRN has some pretty good coverage, so good for you guys, too. Shmeev, thank you for being a member for 5 months. 43 somehow got his Legacy Garbage Club car to P11. Yeah, it's been an issue, to say the least, for that whole team. But as we go, we do have some pit issues for Bell. He charges up through the pack. I think he restarted I want to say 29th or so, got up into the top 10 before green flag stop started. On pit road, Byron and Haley made some slight contact. Really didn't affect their days too much. Was incidental contact. but something to note, because honestly, I think stage 2 was probably the dullest part of the day. But on lap 163, we have a spin for our third caution of the day from Erik Jones. Eric Almirola, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, and Kevin Harvick take 2 tires, while the rest of the leaders take 4. And this brings up another big issue on lap 169. Nice. Eric Almirola goes up into the wall, tire damn near flies off, and I believe it was Rick Allen that made the observation that it seemed like the entire lug nut fell off. Sounds like the crewman said that it was tight. I would question that heavily after what we saw, but you know what? It's not like Almirola without strategy was going to be up there anyway. I know he had a bit of a faster car, but there was no beating Truex. And he's someone who's definitely in a must-win. So you're going to start seeing these strategies go off like that. But I think that was both a team that's ill-equipped and is desperate as well. But with that, you have Larson, I believe, get the lead. Doesn't matter because Truex takes the lead, takes the stage. He wins both stages, 7 playoff points on the day for winning both stages. Kyle Larson comes home second in the stage. Third is Joey Logano. Fourth is Ryan Blaney. Fifth is Denny Hamlin. Then Kevin Harvick, Alex Bowman, Brad Keselowski, Tyler Reddick, and Christopher Bell. And that brings us to the final stage of the day. And really quick before we read that, thank you, Robert C4, for being a member for 2 months. As a Briscoe fan, I was hyped he was in 10th. Yeah, I mean, Briscoe fans, SHR fans, other than Harvick, have not had much to cheer about today, or this year, I should say. So anything that changes that narrative, I'm sure, is very welcomed. Let's see. I agree with Alessandro here. I'll pin this message. Ryan Blaney had a decent day, actually a pretty good day, only got a mediocre finish out of it. And let's talk a bit about the finish of this race. Final stage comes up, lap 192. You have the restart. There's a split strategy. You have MTJ and some leaders who stay out. You have others in the pack who pit. And we start seeing the tires matter. Ryan Blaney charging up to second, right behind the leader of MTJ. Never got around him, but definitely put some pressure on him. But with that, Blaney would pit first in the cycle. MTJ would do the next lap. Based on what you would think that, hey, come on. It's obvious that Blaney's going to make up some time. But Truex had a better execution getting on pit road. Better pit stop than Blaney did. Gets out by about 3 seconds once it cycles through over the 12. And from that point, if it goes green, it's his race to lose. Well, it was his race to lose no matter what, but it's his race. The 3 and the 99, they tried to stay out on the long run. Really didn't work, though. Austin Dillon had the lead for a little bit. Suarez was in the top 10 for a bit. Didn't work, but again, I don't think it affected their finish too awful much. Austin Dillon came home 9th, and Suarez came home 16th. Neither was like a great run, I would say, but at the same time, I don't think it was... it was not a season ender. It was not a move that was going to end Suarez's chance at the cut line. If it worked out, he probably would be up by, 10 now instead of down by 1, but still pretty damn close. But from there, with 31 to go, you have Noah Gragson in the wall. I believe another lug nut came out on that one. They said it was a brake rotor too. I don't know which one it was, but most pit from here. Leaders go with 2 tires. At the time, Bell was the top guy with 4. Blaney, this is how we get Blaney from running up front really well to screwing himself and the team screwing themselves out of a good run. But Blaney runs over a hose, gets a penalty, back of the pack, was never able to recover with 25 laps left as of the restart. The 4 and the 3 stayed out, really didn't matter because Truex made it by both of them. But with 22 to go, Bowman kind of goes around. It was like a half spin, I want to say. It really, honestly, probably wasn't that much of a caution. But that brings the yellow out, meaning with 17 to go, you have the 19 and the 22 going out at it. Only to be stopped by Christopher Bell getting hard into the wall. He lost it himself. I don't think there's any excuse you can really give for it. Just kind of ran out on it. I guess in the term, ran out of talent with it. Up into the wall. Brings out the final caution of the day. I'll note this. The rear crumpled up a lot better than it did last year this time. So good on NASCAR for changing some stuff up with that. I'm interested if they ask Bell how he feels after that kind of wreck. But, I would say pretty good that it's crushing in where it should be crushing instead of being stiff and possibly hurting another driver. But that brings out the restart with 10 to go. Truex runs out with the lead again. At that point, it's over. Logano tried to put on a hard charge, but it really didn't go. It was way too late to make that charge. So Truex gets his third win of the year, tying him for second on the year with Kyle Busch, only behind William Byron's 4. And I'd say, like I said, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10 personally. It just wasn't my cup of tea today. But if you liked it, so be it. I'm looking at the poll right now, and it's looking like people were generally positive about it, but kind of positive towards the middle on it. Going to be really interesting on this Wednesday on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast to be covering it. Be on this channel. By the way, be sure to lick that like button. Let's get over 100 as we got well over 400 watching. Let's see what you guys think in the chat before we end this out. But really quick, looking at these super chats, NASCAR Son 2414 for 2 says, finally, my favorite Truex Jr. wins Loudon. And Jay for 5 says, thoughts if MTJ should call it a career after a stellar year. Never know how another year will go. I think that's a good poll to have, actually. I'll put this. If MTJ wins it all, should he go out on top? I'll say that only if he wins the championship. Yes, no, or maybe. Because I think that's an interesting way to think about it. A lot of people in sports stay too long. We talked about it this week when we were talking about our top 75 drivers. We talked about the Labonte brothers staying too long. We've seen it with Jimmy Johnson. He stayed too long. If Truex were to win this year after, honestly, a resurgent year compared to the year before, I think there could be a question to it. If he's hemming and hawing on it, storyline-wise, I think it would be very fitting after the struggles his career's had. But at the same time, if he's able to compete every week still, even though he's relatively old per se for a driver, I don't know if it's, I don't know if it'd be the right decision, because he could win more championships. I mean, he'll be turning 44 next year. It's not like he's, geriatric for a driver. He still probably could have 2 or 3 more competitive years left in him if this is where we're going. I see 62% of you saying yes, 63% now, 23 no, or 23 maybe, 14 no. It's an interesting question. I think it all depends on if Truex feels like he's accomplished all he could accomplish this year. I would be interested to hear what he would think of that, though it sounds like he's not going to answer questions about it, which I don't blame him. But yeah, there we go. I see Danny on TV. Danny and Claudia behind. Is that Kevin Harvick I want to see? I don't watch too much at the end of the broadcast just because I'm getting this ready for y'all. But we're gonna end this poll right here. Sounds like you guys say yeah, he should go out on top. It would be a hell of a mic drop moment. I'll just say that. Let's see. Jake, thank you for the 5. Listen to the race at work, and I was also somehow able to make it home right before the restart with 10 to go. Sounded and looked like a good race. Well, if you enjoyed it, I'm glad. Again, even if I didn't enjoy it, I'm glad when you guys at home enjoy it, because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to rain on everybody's parade just because I disagree. Wayne Montgomery says, what's the forecast this weekend at Pocono? At the moment, AccuWeather is more positive, though they don't give their advanced metrics for weekends till about probably tomorrow or Wednesday. On my phone, giving it about a 50% chance of thunderstorms. It's Pocono. That is one of the most variable tracks outside of like the Florida tracks, I would say. So I won't be worrying too much just yet. If the advanced metrics start saying on like Wednesday, Thursday that it's going to rain, then I'll start worrying. Napa Racing Fan 927, should New Hampshire's Cup race be reduced to 250? I don't think so. This is one of the races I think is perfect with the length. So I don't think so. Andrew Meyer says 10 years ago, Truex only had 2 career wins. How many does he have now? Let me read the super chat and you guys can let me know. Austin, thank you for the 2. I've never once seen a good race at New Hampshire. So Austin's definitely not in the positive camp with it, I would say. 34 career wins. Damn. Let's see where that puts him. I have the all-time wins list I update after every race on my phone, so I can see it. Ties him with Kurt Busch for 25th all-time. He just passed Fireball Roberts, only 1 behind Brad Keselowski, only 3 behind Bobby Isaac, only 5 behind Matt Kenseth. And he's only 6 out of the top 20 all-time, which would be 40, which is 20th place Mark Martin. So interesting to look at there. I think here's another good one. Will MTJ match or surpass Mark Martin 40 career wins? This is very much a three answer one. Surpass, match, and no, not hit it. I think this is an interesting one to look at because before the year, I think it was pretty clear statistically Truex was trending downwards. That's why I'm not upset, or a little shocked of how good of a season he's having and why I didn't pick him to make it in this year, just because he was trending down. The statistics clearly showed it. His performance was showing it over time. But this is a very resurgent year. I'm interested to see if this continues or if it's a blip on that trend. But it's interesting to see. Truex is somebody who's never had a normal career. He's always somehow... he's very much like a Han Solo, never tell me the odds, I would say. Because he's never had that normal career. It's always been something different, something weird, something will happen. Truex in no way is a normal driver, no matter how you want to look at him with it. But looking at the poll right now, I'm seeing some of you in the chat saying surpass, some say no, match. 23% say he'll match Mark Martin, 30% say he'll surpass, 46% of you are saying that he's not going to hit that. I think at the moment, if I was a betting man, I would say no, but it is possible. It's very possible. Jarrett, Kyle Busch is 38 years old. Do you think he will tie or surpass Dale Sr. in wins? I don't know. He's 14 behind right now. Let's say he has, I don't know, maybe 5 more years where he gets an average of 3 wins. And yeah, that puts him right there a little bit above him. But I don't know if RCR is a team capable of being elite long-term. Because in my opinion, not one team has nailed the next gen yet. When you looked at the last 2 generations of cars, it was really Hendrick nailed it right away in the Gen 6, and then Gibbs did right after. Or you could say it did that year, actually, when it comes to Matt Kenseth. And then you look at the COT, and it was Hendrick and Gibbs and Roush hitting it right away. But I don't think one specific team yet has really nailed it, where I can say year in and year out so far in the year and a half, I should say, this is the dominant team. Because Because you could argue Hendrick. I think Hendrick is a very good choice. You could also say that Gibbs has. Penske is another one that's done pretty well with it. But it has given that parity, which I'm getting more and more annoyed with that word because it's overused. RFK has done better. Maybe they could flare up, but there's not one team that's yet nailed it. And you look at this 8 team, week in and week out, they're either way up there or they completely miss out on the setup. And that's just how most drivers are this year and last year too. So it's hard to say at this point if anyone really has hit it yet. Tanner's saying no way Kyle Busch hits 70 wins. He's got to get 7 more wins in the span of like the next 5 to 7 years that he's going to be racing. I don't think that's unrealistic in any way. I see here Reki Spinhouse asking if I'm going to be at Pocono. I will not, more than likely, unless, I don't know. I probably not. I'll ask you guys, does Kyle Busch get more win than Dale Earnhardt? Because 14, that's not unrealistic. That is not unrealistic. Now, the team overall is that's the question mark, man. That is the big question mark. So you got 3 options again, if I can spell no correctly. So does Kyle Busch get more wins than Dale Earnhardt? Personally, I'm going to lean at no. Personally. Though I think he could. Kyle Busch right now sitting at 63 wins, Dale Earnhardt 76. So. And we're getting the polls now, or poll answer now. I see a lot in the chat thinking he'll get that 70 number, but not 76. But it is pretty even. It is pretty even, I'll say that. Really quick order of business. Number 1. Really quick. I'll read those super chats in a minute, but quick business. Number 1, NWP this Wednesday on my channel. Going to be a lot of fun. Going over this race, going over top 75 list, Pocono coming up. Maybe tape won't come into play for taking wins away this year. Then got a video coming up later tonight on Shane Van Gisbergen and where he might go. I think I have a different way of looking at this one, so I think you might enjoy that. And then we have a merch store. Merch is in the description if you want to see it. The hats look really good. I can't wait to get my hands on those. Napa Racing Fan 927 for 2. What current Cup races should be shortened? I mean, we should get rid of Texas, so I guess 400 miles there. That was mean, but yikes, that track is yikes. At the moment, I don't know. I don't know if any should be, because I think the ones they shortened, they needed to. I think before you shorten them, you should take the stage breaks away, because that will... The stage breaks artificially pump up the amount of time the race takes to run. So take the stage breaks away, get more probably green flag racing out of it. I know people want to have their artificial cautions that will spice stuff up, but I don't really think that would be missed, honestly, long term. Let's see. I mean, I'm looking through the schedule right now, and I don't really see any. I know the Spotter podcast was talking about having like 300 milers and stuff and 400 and whatever, like at Talladega and everywhere but like Daytona, basically. I don't agree with that. I'm looking through the schedule, and I honestly think the races are pretty fairly pushed out right now. Yeah, I don't see any that should be shortened as we're going now, personally. Some may say go to 400 laps at Martinsville. I guess with the current package, we could get done with a more boring race in that time, but I think you just need to fix the package. But that's just me. Yeah. Stages, no cautions. That's where I'm at with it. But I think that's going to cover it. There really wasn't all that much to talk about, man. There really wasn't all that much. So that'll probably do it. Thank you guys again for watching. I appreciate every week y'all coming on. We'll be back next week for all 3 Pocono races. And y'all have a good Monday. I'll see you later with my upload tonight. So, bye, guys.